almost all of his Sonic tanks, so he didn't lose any there. I didn't check to see if he has a repair facility. If he does, he'll get to bring those back up to full health without losing much damage, without losing much in the way of credits. Oh, here comes a Devastator drop. Very common and beloved tactic of the Raffy. Loves to drop Devastators. And in this case, he's dropping them right in the middle of the Sonic tanks because basically they can one-shot and kill a Sonic tank. And there they go. There go two Sonic tanks, instant death. Unfortunately, there's still so many Sonic tanks lying around that they were able to rather easily destroy the Devastators that got dropped. Now you can see that the Raffy, again, he loves Devastators. As soon as he gets them, he starts spamming them. So pretty soon we're probably going to see some mass Devastator action, and the Raffy probably also has a very healthy number of carryalls, I'm sure, to move them around. You don't often see him actually trying to range them over the desert, which is more or less a good thing. Puxii, I see building a couple of mobile trading posts for some extra, scouting, and here come the Trikes and the mass Sonic tanks. Definitely got to remember to keep something in front of those Sonic tanks. The Trikes here, they're, he really needs to move those up. They'll be able to take a few hits before those Sonic tanks do, so you definitely want to keep them right in front. You don't want to let them take any shots from those Devastators who are sitting right out there in the front. The Raffy is moving the Devastators back a little bit. He doesn't necessarily want to engage front on with those Sonic tanks, or he's just trying to clump them up. I can't really see if he's got vision or not, but it looks like Puxii is getting ready to make a major attack right up the front. Oh, and here comes one Devastator drop at least, and there's another Harvester getting taken down. And again, Harvesters are free. There's another Devastator drop. Harvesters are free to build. They just take a long time. So if you destroy them, you put a dent in terms of the speed of your opponent's harvesting operations, which is a good tactic. So, all right, he's losing a bunch of Sonic tanks now to these one-shots from the Devastator drops. Those Devastators are going to last a little while longer now without some Sonic tanks in there to take them down. Now there's just regular tanks basically left in the mix for Puxii. He is moving a whole bunch of tanks out right in the middle of Worm Sign. I hope he stops those soon, otherwise he's going to lose a lot of those units. If any of these Devastators are forced to move, they will also suffer Worm Sign, so it would actually not be a bad tactic right now for Puxii to stop moving in against them and to make them move, because basically if they move an inch, a worm is going to come and eat them. But it looks like Puxii is absolutely determined to keep sending units forward right in the middle of Worm Sign to continue this attack. So he's losing an awful lot, and looks like the Raffy is, more or less concerned about his Devastators. He's pulled them back out of the front lines, and he's airlifted them so they don't get eaten up by any worms. And here's a little flak trike harassment from Frontliner. Sorry, Puxii is also known as Frontliner. Here's some flak trike harassment from Puxii, managing to take down a carryall from the Raffy, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Raffy responds in kind. Building a whole fleet of flak trikes and sending them around after carryalls is a good idea. Now here Puxii is, he hasn't given his flak trikes the right orders. He hasn't told them to stop where they are. He's just told them to attack move, the default order for them. So when they stop, they go on to guard orders and they start looking for enemy flyers to shoot at. Unfortunately, in this case, those flak trikes have started to move right into the enemy base and take fire from the turrets. So he's lost a bunch of flak trikes from his little fleet there. Now, in terms of overall unit strength, okay, he's massing up. Puxii is massing up some Sonic tanks again. Looks like he's got about 8, and he's got a number of tanks and some other flak trikes hiding around. Overall, his economy is doing okay. He probably has more money than he's letting on. And here's another Devastator drop, one-shotting instantly a couple of units, and taking down that tank with 2 shots. And yeah, they're moving the assault forward. Worm Sign is over, so here comes a little bit of Devastator push. Puxii definitely needs. All right, he just lost another Sonic tank, and here come those flak trikes trying to shoot down the carryalls. And they got to make sure they stay away from the Devastators. They will also get one-shotted really easily. So right now those Devastators are owning everything. They're very strong units. They have, they're also very expensive. They cost 800 credits per shot, and the Sonic tanks only cost 600. So it's not necessarily a good trade. Oh, there was a self-destruct by a Devastator to kill a couple of Sonic tanks. That was actually a really good move. I hadn't noticed that before. So right now, it looks to me like the Raffy is, you know, his base is sprawling quite a bit. He's got a lot of economy, a lot of economic strength, many devastators. Looks like he's starting to build up a lot of combat units. I didn't see back at his base what he's been building recently, but Puxii, I don't see him having a whole lot of units sitting around. Unfortunately, he's been the one kind of picked apart pieces at a time, which is again that's harder to do with Harkonnen than it is with other races against the Atreides. But unfortunately, Puxie's not had a lot of success here with what he's been going after. He's been making a lot of frontal assaults, and again, there's all these heavy vehicles that Puxie is going for. I mean, these are devastators. Their main weakness is small, cheap units. They fire so slowly and so powerfully that if you throw an infantry up at them, if you throw even one infantryman at a devastator, he'll probably last a lot longer than you think he will. He'll keep that devastator occupied. He'll do a bunch of damage to it, and when the devastator shoots him, it'll waste 90% of the firepower that it has on that single shot because that infantry only takes 15 damage. So literally 90% of every shot a devastator takes against an infantryman, even if it hits, is wasted. So send in a few squads of infantry to surround them. You know, they're already slow as it is, and you know, you're in business. A whole bunch of infantry along with a whole bunch of infantry along with some flak trikes in the background to stop the liftoffs from carryalls to come to support them. And you know, this entire way of attacking with devastators would just be nullified instantly. And infantry are very cheap and they're very fast to produce. So I mean, really, just a couple of barracks right now. If Puxie transitioned right now from mass heavy vehicle into mass infantry, even just that one move would be so helpful to him because the Raffy is obviously going mass devastator, and he's probably going to continue to do that. So, yeah, there's an example, like I said, a great example of, you know, we have these groups of tanks and missile launchers. Here's a couple of devastator drops. The Raffy likes to drop them in and then just immediately self-destruct. And he destroys a couple of buildings, you know, and it looks like there he destroyed a refinery and a wind trap. So that was 700 credits, but he just gave up 800 credits by destroying a devastator. So the Raffy does, you know, he does like to bully his opponent. He's like you know, the whale at the table who has so much money that actually becomes a benefit in a poker game. You know, to have an enormous amount of money is you know, allows you to have many more options than you had before, and allows you to bluff and bluster and to, you know, pin opponents against each other and do all kinds of interesting things. It has an effect. So there's definitely an intimidation factor by the fact that, you know, if the Raffy is willing and able to just toss in devastators and immediately self-destruct them, then yeah, that definitely has an effect on the opponent. So yeah, the Raffy is definitely continuing to move up with devastators. He's got quite a few on the board now, and I'm sure he has plans to make many more. Um, the Raffy, well, Puxie, you know, one thing I've seen him do many times is save up a lot of money. He likes to keep a large reserve of money in his stores, basically just to try and react to what the opponent's going to do. And I mean, look at the size of his economy, and he really hasn't built all that many units as far as I can tell, and he hasn't been building for a while. So I mean, you have to ask immediately. I mean, look at this. We've got almost a dozen harvesters flying around. So you have to ask, where is his money going? It can't just all be disappeared. He's got to be either saving it for something or waiting. And you can see there's just massive number of devastator queues going up for the Raffy. He's just massing devastators. That's all he wants to do because he's not being countered. There are no infantry out here for Puxie to handle them. So right now it looks like Puxie has almost nothing. I see half a dozen tanks and I see a crap load of harvesters, and that's basically it. He doesn't even have a lot of static defenses. So you have to ask yourself, where is all that money going? Now here comes a little rolling group of rocket launchers, which do a lot of damage against buildings, combined with some devastators. That's pretty much going to take out the whole left side of Puxie's base. I don't even think he should try to defend it. There's really no point with the firepower that's over there. Looks like he's thinking about it. He might be moving all this group of regular combat tanks over there to try and fend this off, but We'll see how that works because he also has some harassment going on over at the right. He's doing some more. The Raffy's doing some more Devastator drops and hitting his harvesters. So it looks like Puxii is. Sorry again for the lag. The lag is kind of bad at this time. We got a lot of action on the field. The Raffy, Puxii, it looks like he is going to go after the Raffy. He is going to try and head off this attack on the left, but the Raffy definitely just, has no illusions about going straight in at Puxii. He's hitting him from both sides, and he's hitting him pretty hard and fast. So it looks like Puxii may have actually split up some of his forces. If I'm correct, it looks like he sent some tanks over to the right and some over to the left. That's another thing I wouldn't, it would be better in this case. There's a very strong force on the left that you don't even know if you can handle, especially with just combat tanks. Combat tanks are going to get ripped up by Devastators. So, setting this group in over to the left is basically suicidal. They're probably not going to do a lot of damage. And even more so, you don't want to split them up. You definitely don't want to split up your forces here because you'll suffer a lot less damage per unit if you just send everything you have. Just basically like StarCraft 2 tactics. You make these balls of units that have basically your entire unit cap inside them, all your combat potential, because that's the way to kill everything quickly and to avoid too many losses. Numbers themselves, just like money at a poker table, numbers themselves are an advantage. So, and I think that bears out pretty well in this game. So here's Puxie's two-pronged response to this attack. He does have a lot of combat tanks, and he may be able to kill those Devastators, depending on how well they do here. But the Raffy is being very sly. He's taken his rocket launchers and moved them further down so he could do more damage to some buildings down there. That's working out pretty well for him. Puxii is over on the right. There are just too many Devastators there for his half a dozen tanks to be able to handle them. And on the left, his tanks are doing a little bit better, but he just doesn't have the mobility to move around here. And he's starting to lose more and more harvesters on the right. But boy, he still has. I mean, it looks like Puxii has 18 harvesters around there. So it's hard for me to look at that and really know where all of his money is going. I mean, he must, even if he was just getting a few of those harvesters to return, he still should have had some good output potential. Now here over on the left, we see some tanks that are trying to attack these Devastators and rocket launchers, but they're doing it piecemeal. There's no concave here. There's no grouping. Maybe formation move would have worked here, but really just trying to keep them together before sending them in. If you send 6 in at one time and then another 6 in, it's going to be much less effective than setting 12 in. So Puxii GG's, he pretty much knows that he's not going to be able to dislodge these two groups of Devastators, and there's no real response from Puxii in terms of actually countering these strategies that the Raffy is using. Either countering his use of the carryalls heavily. Oh, and here's a little token mercenary assault that Puxii's pulled out at the end. That looks like maybe 1,600 credits or so that he just spent right there, but that's still not a whole lot. I still don't know where the rest of Puxii's money went. So good game by both players. It was fun to watch, definitely. The Raffy definitely took the initiative and stayed on the attack. He had a lot of good tactics, used some creativity, and really didn't even have to modify his strategy much. He just basically went, you see some Fremen walking around there, but he didn't need them. He just transitioned right into Devastators and never even needed to use any anti-infantry. So, again, this is Jesse with Dune 2 The Golden Path. Thanks for watching. Take care.